Hola, guys. Deja Perez back with another edition of What's Poppin', the podcast on 93.9 WKYS. So today, we full-on have family in the building. I would like to introduce to you the man behind the What's Poppin' podcast. He's always behind the camera. I always reference him, but this is my good friend, Lysious. Welcome to finally being in front of the camera,
I know. It's weird because I'm always on the other side, but now I'm over here.
So first things first, my friend Lysious wrote himself a book. So let's talk about this book, Lish. First of all, what was the concept behind this book, Love Notes?
Right. I mean, to be honest with you, it was basically just, I'm all about love, man. I'm all about just us having like healthy relationships and everything like that. And I feel like a lot of times if you don't know what real love is, it's easy for you to fall for what's not real love. You know what I'm saying? So, I mean, I don't think I have all the answers, but I hope that the words and as you read, as you go through, it kind of gives you an idea of what love is supposed to be. So when you see what's not real love, it's easy for you to identify it and to kind of stay away from it. So that's really what all of that came from. It's just really painting a clear picture of what love is and what love is not.
So this was kind of a long time in the making, from the compilation of it all to actually getting it in book form to releasing it. So what were those steps like that for someone who also would like to become an author like yourself?
Yeah, I mean, definitely you need the content. You know what I'm saying? That's the first thing. Like for me, a lot of it came from like just stuff that I've been through myself. Okay. So it's a lot of the stuff I wrote was like really personal. You know what I mean? Like just pulling from stuff that I've encountered and, you know what I mean, like just stuff that happened to me. And then it was over time. Like sometimes I write one and I post it on Facebook just to get people's reaction and stuff like that, just to see how people are reacting to it. And then I went through and I just try to figure out what's the best ones, what I feel like captures the essence of what I'm trying to really express and communicate. And that once I had all of that down, it was really just getting in touch with a publisher. Like this was actually through Amazon, because Amazon has like a good,
that's dope.
You know what I mean? So I got in contact with them and it was really easy. And I had to pay for copyright to like the cover and everything. And we have a lot of things planned around this as well. So like next year, we're going to have like a whole Love Notes experience.
Which is going to be so dope.
You know what I'm saying? And you're going to be co-hosting as well.
Of
so
course.
we're looking forward to that. It's really going to be a time of like comedy, music, spoken word. You know, we're going to have a panel as well and really just talk about relationships. I mean, from like like the perspective of like millennials and stuff like that. That's really what we're trying to do. And we hope to keep that going. Like every Valentine's Day, like have that, just a time to come out, chill with good
people, good vibes.
Right. Absolutely.
I'm here for that. Do you think that millennials struggle with relationships more so than the generation in front of them?
It's not like we have a hard time. I feel like, probably because we don't have a lot of examples of what real love is supposed to be. And a lot of what we see in the media, that's not a perfect example of it. So every time, it's always good to have more people who are, like who are living that life. And part of what I'm even working on is I have a show concept I'm trying to pitch to the company, you know what I mean, to just highlight young millennials who are like successful in relationships, which is
it's a new breed,
exactly.
And I think that you're absolutely right. I think that just in general, I think we need reminders that love exists. I think that people tend to get so jaded by their past hurts or whatever, you know what I mean? And I'll admit, we did that video for your
yes.
What was it for?
Love Notes series.
Love Notes series.
And we're bringing that back too, like in a different way.
So as in full, like a disclaimer, right? Lish was like, yeah, we're just going to talk about love and your experience. And I probably went on for 7 minutes or 12 or God knows, because I can talk, right? He picks this one clip, right, of me being like, fuck love and blah, 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 blah. But it's true. It's how I felt. It's fine. And my mother, the funny thing, my mother's like, are you okay? And I was like, yeah, I'm fine, mommy. She was like, well,
wait,
I
she saw
something.
it?
Of course. She was like, I saw something on Instagram and are you okay? And I was like, yeah, mommy, it's fine. You know me.
Yeah.
It's fine.
Yeah.
It ain't nothing. But yes, that was a very interesting tag on the Love Notes, the book. All right, so let's talk about some of the projects. So if you are not familiar with Lysious, he of course is an HU, very proud HU alum.
Yes, ma'am.
And so he is all things like the videographer, things like that, right? So what are some of the projects you've got going on? Because you're responsible for a lot of the content that is on KYSDC.com.
Yes. So in case y'all don't know, we got some type of way. Well, man, DJ Five now. What's up, Five?
Yes,
so that's the man on the street joint. You know what I mean? We're like, some type of way, man. Would you feel some type of way? You know what I'm saying? If Babe's like, I don't want to wait till marriage to have sex. Would you feel some type of way? She said, you know, I'm trying to keep it on lockdown till we're married. How would you feel about that? That's definitely good. We were excited. We so Dad have a sponsor behind it, so we're grateful for that. We got a problem. We got a problem.
That is hilarious, by the way.
You know, so y'all need to check us out, kyzisky.com. We got a problem. It's just how we came about that is, you know, I believe in stuff that you can relate to and you can connect to. I remember when I showed that to Jeff, you know what I mean, our VP, he was like, it's interesting because people go through this every day.
Correct.
That's
They're
the
real life
it,
like
you know what I mean?
issues. Yeah.
Right. So, and it's like, even though we laugh about it, we've had people like reach out and say, man, it's funny y'all did that skit because I was just having the same argument with my girl like not too long ago. So it's stuff that people go through every day, and we just want people to have a good time, engage, and just really talk about it, because I don't have the answer to everything. My goal is always to like start a conversation. If I can get you to start thinking or talking about it, even if you're laughing about it, like if I can get you to a point where like you even thinking about it, I believe that out of that conversation something can come out. Like,
sure, it affects change.
You know what I'm saying? So so we definitely have that going on, and we do have a lot of concepts too that we're either working on or that we're, you know, just in the planning stages right now. So it's a lot of things. I would say just make sure that you're subscribed to our YouTube channel. Follow me at Real Name Lysious if you're not. And just, you know, I try to post some of the stuff that we got going on as well. And, of course, you got What's Poppin', which is dope. Not just What's Poppin' this one, but What's Poppin' we can review, you know what I'm saying? Like, hola.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I'm saying? We have that. And we just have a lot of the things, too, coming up that you just have to look out for.
So back to the book, back to Love Notes, a reflection on love and life, right? Let's talk about relationships for a teensy bit.
Yes, ma'am.
So have you been in a successful relationship?
Regardless
of whether or not it obviously, you know, didn't last, whatever. Would you have said that you were in a successful relationship at any point?
I haven't. I have not. And I'm going to be real honest, too, because I feel like part of it is me.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? But I would say this because you brought that up. I feel like honesty is very key.
Oh, absolutely.
In everything that you do. Like, honesty is not just for in a relationship, but honesty with yourself.
In life.
You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Just being honest with yourself. And I feel like one of the reasons why, if I go back to myself back in college, one of the reasons why was at that time I was in a different place, different space. You know what I'm saying? You could not pay me mentally. You could not pay me to be in a relationship back in college.
Okay.
And the reason why is I had to be honest with myself. You know what I mean? Like, I went to Howard. I feel like we have the world's most beautiful woman go to Howard. You know what I mean? Like, so, and I had to be honest with myself that I could not be exclusive to one person. At that time, all I wanted to do was just have fun. If you was down with having fun, I was cool with it. And I had a lot of people, a lot of women at the time who wanted more. But for me at the time, I've always been very open. And I would not lead you on. I would tell you straight up. Like, a lot of it, too, came from my past and everything, and even just growing up and what I saw, I feel like a lot of times you wanna fight what you see, but I feel like you are everything that you're trying to fight against. And being honest with that kind of really, I think I'm very honest with this. A lot of people know I always talk about my father, like he had a lot of women in his life. You know what I'm saying? And growing up, he was not only was he constantly cheating on my mom, he was also physically abusive to my mom. So what that did for me, I've always said that that could have either two impacts on you. It could either make you feel like it's okay to hit women
or run the opposite way.
Or the opposite way. For me, I was lucky that it had the opposite effect on me. So because I remember growing up and seeing my mom, I can never forget I was probably 5 or 6 and I came in the room and she was crying because he just hit her. And so like I grew up with that image in my mind, and it kind of impacted my relationship with my dad. But then again, because of the connection I have with my mom, as I should, but my love for my mom, I made up my mind that if I was ever going to be in a relationship, I would not cheat. And I'm not saying that because it sounds good, but because having
the effects of it.
Exactly. I didn't want to put somebody else through the same thing that my mom went through.
You know, it's interesting, right? Because like my parents were together until my father passed, right? And they were married however many, 30 plus, almost 40 years, whatever. Yeah. And the interesting part is, you know, and every relationship has its challenges, right? But I feel like in my growing up, I feel like for the most part, there were some relationships that weren't good, but I felt like my parents showed me like a compromise, right? A give and take, and a work with each other, and a yin and a yang. You know what I mean? Yeah. And I felt like I had pretty good, and my friends' parents were together. Right. Their parents were married, and you know what I mean? So I felt like I had really good role models. So my vision, and I'm, you know, a romantic and all that other crap, right? But like I felt like growing up, I had good role models of what it should look like, right? And when I entered into relationships, I wanted them to be that. But obviously they didn't get there. But I think I had a little bit of a different experience, right? So I did know what it should look like. And I know that, you know, honesty and you know, commitment and exclusivity and all these things are important in relationships. Yeah. The issue is if only one of you feels that way.
Right. Absolutely.
You know what I mean? And more so if only one of you is communicating it. Because what the worst thing, and since we all talk about relationships and it ain't about me, but the issue is, and we talk about it all the time, is when you lie. Right. And when you lie within yourself, but also when you lie to your significant other. Because if you're telling me, Deja, I love you, it's you and me, it's, you know, F them bitches, blah, blah, blah. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? But then you out and you doing the exact opposite of what you're telling me, we have a whole problem.
Absolutely. And that's exactly what happened to me. So because I saw that, I was like, I don't want to put somebody through the same thing. So the way that I thought I could do that was just not, because I couldn't trust myself to be in an exclusive relationship. I felt like, instead of me breaking your heart, I can't tell you you're the only one. Next week you're going to see me with somebody else in the yard. Like, that's not going to happen. So I thought that I was trying to fight that, not to break any hearts, because no woman could ever say that I cheated. I was proud of that. But what I didn't realize was that because I didn't want to be exclusive, I was in many ways becoming my father. Because now I had a lot of people that I was dealing with, but I was not committed to anyone. You see what I'm saying? Okay. So it came from that, and I realized that too, because I didn't want to be in that space.
What sparked that catalyst? Like what brought you to that realization? Because that's a deep thing to realize.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it was just really, again, just looking at my father as well. Like, it was like, at the end of the day, you got to be honest with yourself that you have your father's DNA in you, and you like a lot of girls, and that's the first thing I had to say to myself. So I was like, well, you know, I can't really trust myself, but the good thing is at least I'm not making anyone cry like my dad was making my mom cry. At least I wasn't breaking any hearts. But then one time,
I'm not committed to any of you.
You know what I'm saying? But then it hit me like, Lysious, you do realize that now you're like involved with a lot of different women with no commitment. And what you don't realize is it might be hard for you to even be with one if you don't deal with that. Wow. You know what I'm saying? And I would never forget a young lady I was talking to. She's from Philly, but she lives in Cali at the time. And, you know, it was good. Everything was great. We talked, you know, text and everything for a long time. And all of a sudden, it's like, I was like, you know what? I'm bored. Like, I need to move on.
Yikes.
And then something was like, but she was chasing this girl for a minute. What happened?
Right. Why did it fizzle out?
Why did it just fizzle away? And I realized that what was going on at the time goes back to what I was saying. The fact that I don't know how to be exclusive or to be in one relationship. I haven't gotten to a point where I was ready to be vulnerable to anyone. You know what I'm saying? I was okay with having you around. You know what I mean? And so,
does it fit your needs?
Exactly. So once that happened, and around the same time too, because once that happened, it hit me like, what just happened? You're in a place where you feel comfortable in trying to conquer a lot of women to be able to say, well, I could have that if I wanted, but not being a place where you're like, I'm committed to you and you alone. Which is harder. Which is hard. And it's like, and once that happened to me, and then another like thing that happened too was a young lady that I was very close friends with. Like, when I say that somebody loved you for who you are and just accepted you and your family and everything, that's what she was. But then again, I was in a space where I wasn't ready for it. We was at the movies and she was like, you know, I've been talking to this guy, right? I'm like, wait, pause, what? I'm sorry, can you run that one more time? So did you really
think she was just supposed to tread water waiting for you to get ready?
In my mind, I was.
Wow.
And my ego was, you know what I'm saying? Like, I could have her anytime. I could be like, yeah, what you doing this weekend? And I would say this, ladies, it's a lot of guys like that.
Oh, absolutely.
You got to know the difference between somebody that wants to build something with you and somebody that just wants to stay around and keeps you from being with anybody else. It's a lot of guys. It's a lot of guys that are just being your life. For
you know,
4
the problem
5
with that, Lish, though, is that some men don't realize that that's what they're doing.
Right.
That's the crux of the issue.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
It's like you've been with a guy for 4 to 5 months, and I'm like, has he ever told you how he feels about you? No. So y'all just kicking it for 4 to 5 months. What are we? What's the goal? Where are we going? Are we just hanging out? What's the end game of it? Mm-hmm. I remember one time a girl asked me. She said, "What are we?" Mm-hmm. I said, "What do you mean? What are we?" Like, you know what I mean? I feel like that's what a lot of guys don't realize. It's like, it's guys in your life, ladies, guys that just want to come around, but they don't want to build anything. I was that guy at some point in time. And when she told me that, I realized that I just wanted to have access to her and not be able to be. So when these were like things that started happening to me over time. And I was like, wow, that's crazy. So when she said that, I told her, I said, we can't hang out anymore. She was like, why not? I was like, because we just can't hang out anymore. You have a guy, not to mention we go to the same school. Like, we know the same people. I just don't want a messed up situation. But that began a process for me. And then, then I met this lady who lives in Cali, but she's out of Philly. And that whole thing happened. And then I met somebody else. That was the one that, it was crazy how that happened. I had a conversation with my mom, and I said, "Mom, I'm tired of relationships. I'm good. I just want to focus on my career." All two of them that you've had. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I just want to be, and I'm sick and tired of, I want. And then there comes this young lady, and it was like, I have never been in a place where I fell for somebody. First time I saw her.
Get it, Liz?
You know what I mean? And she didn't even come to see me. She came to see somebody else. She was in a whole different situation at the time. She stopped by, we went to eat, and in that moment, I was like, yo, this is crazy. When she went back, I was like, I'm falling for you. It's really crazy. But I was coming in too strong. You know what I'm saying? And I was saying all this crazy stuff and all of this jazz and everything. And,
Did it scare her off?
It did. But then again, she wasn't really honest with me, too, because she had a lot going on. We got to talking. And then I was like, she was like, I mean, I want to get to know you generally, but it's like, I don't want to get to know you more than that. I was like, what's going on? She's like, because, I have somebody else. And I was like, so here I come. I was like, well, how long have you known this guy? So I would know him for a couple of years, you know what I mean? So I said, wait, pause. Did you know him when you came to D.C.? She was like, yes, I knew him when I came to D.C.
Oh, no, you need to leave that one alone.
So when she came to D.C., she had a situation with somebody else. And she was talking to somebody that's back at home that she had gone on 2 dates with. So it was a whole lot going on. And I was like,
messy.
If you had told me, I would have been, all right, cool, fall back. But then again, as much as I was like, she wasn't honest. She didn't tell me. I was like, even if you just in your subconscious, and I say this to like at every point in time, even if you're just talking to somebody and somebody new, tell them. You know what I mean? Even if it's just casual, just, hey, just so you know, I'm talking.
Absolutely.
Just so you know what's going on.
Here's the thing, right? You cannot start any relationship, be it friendship, intimate, whatever. You cannot start that on a lie or an omission of the truth and expect to prosper from that. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's really, you're literally building the foundation of what you're setting the stage of this relationship for. Right. And if you're half-truthing it, then you're gonna get that throughout the relationship.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean?
And but then even with all of that, it was like, I remember one time I was like, okay, cool. Even prior to me finding about all this new stuff that she told me, I remember just sitting in my house, and then it just hit me. I'm like, well, Lysious, here you are telling this girl how much you love her and all these things. If she told you right now, right this second, that she felt the same way, would you really be exclusive to her?
And what was your answer?
And the answer was no.
Blue, you got some work to do, bro.
And the answer was no. And I realized that was an issue you had to fix. And I think that was a moment of change for me.
Okay.
But I'm not even going to lie to you. I remember going to my knees and praying because I realized a few things about myself. I was afraid of commitment. Didn't want to be vulnerable. You know what I'm saying? And I just wanted to be in a place where, I have access and everything and no commitment. So I prayed about it, and it was like, you keep saying that you want somebody, but are you ready? Are you ready for it? You know what I'm saying? If you found somebody today, would you be exclusive to that person? And I feel like a lot of times when we talk about relationships, the key thing, and the reason why I say all of this is, you got to be honest with yourself. And it's to start with you. You know, because when you get in a relationship, I tell people all the time, if you can, as much as you can, when you're single, that's a time for you to work on yourself, figure out what your weaknesses are, what you need to fix, and things like that. You know what I'm saying? And Because once you're able to work on you and get you to where you need to get to, not just, of course, financially get a job, but even emotionally. You know what I mean? Like, it's a lot of things that you deal with. And I always say this all the time. Like, when you get in a relationship, these are two different people, like with two different experiences and everything. And a lot of times we spend so much time like, well, maybe it's like, why can't you do this? Why can't you do? Oftentimes I'm like, you need to stop and ask, what role am I playing in that relationship? Maybe it's not them. Maybe it's me. You know, so, and that for me, and it's all of these things that I've been going through and just myself evolving and becoming who I'm supposed to become, and just knowing that you're a hopeless romantic. You're getting to that point. You are a hopeless romantic, but at the same time, you don't know how to channel that. Things like you coming on too strong. These are things that you need to watch, and just different things like that. And just knowing about yourself, because a lot of times you need to know where somebody is with you before you dive all the way in.